there, I'm Tori Beach, a solo wedding videographer, and today we're back with another episode of I Do's and Don'ts, where I sit down with other wedding professionals and talk about all the do's and don'ts of everything weddings. Today I'm so excited to be sitting down with my friend Ryan Reid, who is a wedding DJ. Hey Ryan, thank you so much for being here.
Hey Tori, it's my pleasure. Really looking forward to the conversation.
Me too, and your do's and don'ts were perfect, and I'm super excited to dive into them. But first, I want you to talk a little bit about you as a DJ. Want to give you a shout out for your business. So what is the name of your company?
So my company name is Crash Events. We've been around since, I say 2006, but really it's 2008 because that's when I actually really started getting booked and doing really well.
So with being a DJ, I mean, every wedding vendor sees everything, and you've been a DJ for a while, so you've seen a lot. But one of the things that you had sent me about as far as a do was for your couples to be flexible. So talk to me a little bit about what you mean by being flexible.
I think you need to be flexible with every one of your vendors, mostly because, especially with videography and photographers, you guys are creating art, you're not just showing up. And I should include cake and all that too. But when it comes to music, I always tell my clients, I'm like, if you guys love marching band music, but all of your guests love death metal, we should probably play death metal. And really the whole concept to being flexible is pretty simple, is that you are inviting everyone you know, and you have different friend groups. And my friend groups from high school are different than my friends groups in college. And then, look at my wife, where she's from, and everyone has a different taste in music. And so when everyone says, first and foremost, I want to have a party, I'm like, cool. Well, what would you play at your party, right? I mean, you should think about what everyone likes and what's going to get everybody out there. I mean, wedding DJs are not the place to hear the newest thing. We're going to play the hits through the decades. And when I say be flexible about it, it's mostly about thinking about what your guests are going to want, and think about your family and who's going to dance and who's not going to dance, and understand that your grandma probably loves Dancing Queen and you probably want, Rihanna. I don't know. I'm throwing artists out there, but that's the main concept is everyone has all these different tastes, and my job as a wedding DJ is to throw out, the bait and try to reel in as many people as I can. And if that genre is working, then I'll do it for a little while, and then that's when the requests flow in. And so people will limit you and say, well, I don't want country at my wedding. It's like, yeah, you don't. So be flexible and, talk to your guests, learn who they are and what they want. It's important.
Yeah, I completely agree. And of course, working weddings with you, I see that there is a huge range of different types of music. And honestly, it's interesting because I don't think I've been to a wedding and thought, oh, I can tell what kind of music the bride and groom like. What I notice is what gets people on the dance floor. And of course, as a videographer, I love having people on the dance floor because it makes a really great video and all that kind of stuff. So you were talking a little bit about the whole thing of trusting you as a vendor, and that was another do that you had for your clients and for people watching, is to take your vendors seriously. So talk to me a little bit about what do you mean by take us seriously?
Yeah, I think you'll probably appreciate this, and hopefully the other people you talk to have the same thought. But everybody really, especially today, I think it was crazy how it's changed in such a short amount of time. But now everyone's like, I saw this on Pinterest and this is what I want, or I was at this wedding and this is what I want. And too many people get that concept in their head, and then they're like, all right, now we're going to pick our vendors because they're close to that vision. So I kind of just tell people, you should find someone you like because you like the way they shoot, or the recommendation they had for music, or oh, you did this wedding really well, and realize that we're not trying to recreate something that you saw on Instagram. You want us to create an Instagrammable moment for you. And I know really, it's almost hard for a DJ to say that. That should probably be a comment that video or photographers make, but it's true. People need to trust that we're artists. Everyone from me to the cake, we're all creating this thing, and trust that we have your best interest in mind. What you get with me is that I'm actually really watching people to see if if they're having a good time or if people look bored or tired or whatever, because I don't want to hit play and then everyone's like, you know what, I'm pretty full. I don't want that. So we, trust your DJ that they're watching what everyone's doing and that we're working with you guys to make sure that it's staying organized. That's really the big takeaway.
Absolutely. And I know from working with you that is so true. You definitely keep your pulse on the guests and, you are watching everybody. And one thing that you said, though, that I thought was really great was let us, the vendors, create those Instagrammable moments for you. I think that is huge for couples to let go of because what you see on Instagram and what you see on Pinterest was somebody else's moment. And if you recreate that image, is it really yours? Is that something that like you can look back on and go, oh, that was a moment that was so genuinely me and my partner? Or was it like, this was such a cool Pinterest photo moment or video moment or whatever. Yeah. But it doesn't mean anything to you.
And it's never going to be recreated the way that you see it. And you're like, right. Like my favorite photo from my entire wedding is actually of my brother dipping his now wife and kissing her, right? And that vibe got created by all of my we had nothing to do with that. We didn't want it. We didn't obviously we didn't. It wasn't me. But like that's the whole point, is just to let us work together. And that's the great thing about our community, is that we're small enough that when I get the list of who I'm working with, I'm like, Tori's here. Yep. And then, then we look at what photographer comes in. I'm like, this is a great team. Right. You've got the dream team today.
Right. That was a perfect segue into a don't that you have, which is interesting. And that is more for the venues. And I would even say other vendors. And your don't give recommendations lightly. One thing you just said was that there's a dream team. It's like, yes, we've got the whole crew together. And usually that comes about because each one of us is referring the other. And, and it's like, oh, I work with Ryan and he's fantastic. You really should hire him. So talk to me a little bit about why that was one of your don'ts as far as giving recommendations lightly.
Yeah, it's for all of us in this industry. I mean, because there's new, and I think maybe my group is probably the most notorious for doing a piss poor job. And I think it's, a lot of people get into it and they're like, yeah, this is going to be really great. And then they buy a couple of computer speakers and they're like, oh, this is the guy they chose. And it's mostly because like you're on the line, right? And, there's so many people in our industry and you get paired up with people that could let you down. And that's kind of a recommendation for life, is that make sure that you have people who have your back and make sure that you have people who are going to be that consummate professional all the time, because it's easy for you to go like, oh, I know a really great DJ, and then he doesn't show up. You recommended somebody and it's like, well, man, you recommended this guy and now he's not here. You're kind of on the line, and always be someone's recommendation, but be careful about who you put your faith in, because that first time they let you down, you're like, it's going to be really hard to work with you. But yeah, I think that's like solid advice for our industry, is like, put the right people in your corner and then, more importantly, be that person for everyone else.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I 100% agree with that. Totally. Yeah. Now, one of the other don'ts that you have is more geared towards venues. And this is something that's interesting because, as a videographer, especially my style of videography, I try to be as in the background as possible. I try not to have a whole lot of needs. However, being a DJ, you've got to set a whole thing up, and sometimes you bring up lighting and all that kind of stuff. So one of your don'ts, well, for the venues, was don't harass your vendors. So kind of talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, there's a lot of experience there.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, so I mean, we should all be like and I should preface this for any venues who might be listening, but it's your house. We're in it, and we're there to make you guys look good too. And
Absolutely.
So, it's just, you go into venues. I think like I went into a venue. I won't tell you who it was, but I went to their venue for the first time, and the guy says to me, he's like, just so you know, I don't like DJs. No hello, know anything. First thing he said to me, I was like, this is going to be a bad wedding. He set this weird tone for me, and it ended up being just awful. It's weird. It's like, I mean, I know we're in your house and we're and so I try to limit what I bring. And, you said you do too. And so I only need now, before I'm like, I need 2 tables and I need 6 outlets and this and that. Now I've, technology's come a long way, but
True.
Like now I just need a little bit of power and, enough time to set up, and that's really it. But there's so many venues that are like, you got to be out, it's 12 o'clock. It's like, I still have another 20 minutes. I mean, and so really that's a big thing, is I think from a DJ standpoint, we need venues to just be flexible and realize that things happen. And if we're not physically disturbing your venue,
sure.
Like what crime are we really breaking,
Right.
So and luckily around Champaign County and really kind of, Bloomington Normal and a few other places I play, we don't really run into that.
Right.
But there are some venues that I've been at in recent years where they're like, nope, you got to be in at 3:30. And I'm like, yeah, but everything starts at 4. How am I supposed to be ready to go by then? And it's odd. And I'm almost surprised that and I think maybe we're spoiled because we have so many great venues that we don't deal with that. But you go up, even 2 hours away to one of the major cities around us, and they're like, yeah, everything starts at 4 o'clock. So you have 15 minutes to set up. And I'm like, what DJs have been here that can set up that quickly? It's mind blowing, but yeah, it's all about working together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's like the main takeaway from this is that, this is about, this day should really be about our client, and our client is the couple. And, we all have needs. All of us vendors have needs. And I think it's important that we are able to stand up for ourselves and stand up for our needs. But I do think there is a point where you have to be flexible with one another. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for chatting with me. I love talking about this, and hopefully those of you who are watching got some good information. Feel free to leave comments, ask questions. I am leaving all of Ryan's information below. So if you are a couple who is getting married, please check him out. He is phenomenal. And you're welcome. And if you're a venue, look into him as someone you would recommend. But again, don't give it lightly. Maybe test him out once, but I'm pretty sure you'll fall in love with him. So
Thank you, Tori. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah. Tons of fun. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure to stick around, as I am going to still be talking to many, many more professionals. Also, please feel free to leave any suggestions of what you want to hear and from what kind of wedding vendor or professional that you want to hear it from. Thanks again, and hope to see you in the next episode.